To the PhotoshopTrainingChannel.com. I'm Jesus Ramirez. In this video, I'm going to show you how to change the color of a background in Photoshop. This is going to be a fast and easy technique that anyone should be able to follow along, even if you're a beginner. Okay, let's get started. We're going to work with this image of this model. She is, of course, in a white background, and what we're going to do is change the background color to anything that we want. For this tutorial, so that you can follow along, your image will need a white background. If your image does not have a white background, then I have a tutorial on making white backgrounds. I'll place a link down below in the description. Once you get your white background, you can come back and follow this tutorial. The first step is to make a selection out of our model so we can separate her from the background. And we can use the quick selection tool for that. In older versions of Photoshop, you can just click and drag and make a selection out of our model. But in Photoshop CC 2019, you actually have the Select Subject button, which is a button that uses artificial intelligence known as Adobe Sensei to analyze an image and select the subject of the image. So when you click on this button, Photoshop will ask you if you want to discard any active selections. I do want to discard it, so I'm going to press OK. Then it will analyze the image and make a selection. And in this case, it made a really good selection. There's only a couple areas that we need to fix. If you zoom in, you can see that I missed the fingers and maybe the corner of her hand there next to the hat. And we can easily fix that by pressing the Q key on the keyboard. That enters the quick mask mode. And you can use the brush tool to paint with black or white to select or deselect pixels. I have black as my foreground color. So that means that I can zoom in and paint away the white next to her hand. So anything that is in red will be hidden. So I want to hide these white pixels. And I also want to pan over by holding the spacebar to this area and just make a really quick selection here. So remember, anything I'm painting with black will turn red and it will be hidden. And you don't want to spend too much time fine-tuning these areas just yet. See how the result looks after we apply the color. And if it looks good, then don't worry about it. If you need to refine it, then come back and refine it. I always tell people not to refine their selections until they're sure that they're going to keep them or even need them. Sometimes you don't need to refine the selections because in the composite, those little imperfections are not noticeable. Other times, you may not even need the selection at all. So if you spend a lot of time fine-tuning, it's a waste of time. So fine-tune at the end. I'm going to double-click on the hand tool to fit the image to screen. And you'll notice that we have a really good selection around our model, and that's what we need. I'm going to press Q once again. The marching ants will come back, and you will see that we selected those areas that we painted on. The next step is to create the fill layer that we're going to use to make the background a different color. And we're going to use a solid color adjustment layer. So I'm going to select it from the adjustment layer menu. And I can select the color. I'll just select red for now and press OK. The problem now is that we actually have the color inside the model, not outside. So we can simply solve that by clicking on the layer mask icon and clicking on the invert button in the properties panel. So once I click on invert, those colors invert, and now the red is outside and the model is in front. The problem that we have now is that the shadow is not showing, and I would like for my shadow to show. That way this effect looks more realistic. The easiest way of blending the images so that the shadow shows up is by using a blending mode, which allows us to blend the two images together. And the blending mode that I'm going to use is multiply. So once I select multiply, notice the shadow comes back and the image looks much better. You can even see some of the strands of hair underneath her hat. At this point, you can just double click on the solid color thumbnail so that you can click and drag and select a different color. For example, maybe we'll go for a blue-green color like this one. And you can change the intensity of the color by clicking and dragging within the window. And you can fine-tune it any way that you like. And you can press OK when you're done. You can, of course, use the zoom tool, zoom in and make sure that everything is looking good. And I think that for the most part, everything looks really good. And I don't think I need to fine-tune anything else. So I'm going to zoom back out. And just like that, you've changed the color of a background. I would like to ask you